Welcome to the Performance Portfolio Podcast with Coop and Coop. Greg Cooper is the owner of Cooper Performance Coaching and lead instructor at Kodokwai Judo Club in Edmonton, Alberta. He is on the lifelong pursuit of helping others increase their performance. Cooper Allen is a top financial advisor from Barrie, Ontario, whose focus is empowering everyday families with advice, leadership, and tools that we should have been given in school. Together, they bridge the gap between performance and finance to help you create your own robust performance portfolio. With that, let's get into today's episode.
Coop, we were chatting the other day and you had something on your mind for a great topic for the day. What was it?
Yeah, let's dive into people who think that they're the only ones that go through problems.
I know the type. I know the type.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's they're genuinely around people that are so privileged that those people never go through problems? Or do you think the people that they're surrounded by just do a better job of not playing victim, playing poor me all the time?
Mm. I'm gonna hold on to the quote, or not the quote, but just the bit I have on privilege that a friend and I were talking about. But I think speaking in simple terms without targeting anybody or any of this, it's human nature. Everybody's favorite topic is themselves. And whether they bringing good energy to themselves or bad energy to themselves, they want to talk about themselves. And if they don't have anything else interesting to talk about, they're going to talk about the bad things that only happen to them just so they can talk about themselves.
Hmm,
So to a point, it is human nature.
that's interesting. So what's your natural response when somebody says to you, Greg, you couldn't possibly understand what I'm going through?
There's two sides to that coin. I'll speak on the empathetic side first because empathy is important. And quickly, empathy versus sympathy. Empathy is about the person. Sympathy is when you start putting, oh, I, and you start reflecting your own on there, which empathy is better. There's a time for sympathy, but overall, choose empathy. Nobody knows what anybody else is going through, big, small, traumatic, otherwise. However, you can take contextual clues based on demeanor, based on where they are in life, based on a lot of things, and make an educated guess and make a call on, is this person actually going through something as traumatic as they're talking about? And it's then going to the point where, okay, I hear you. You're going through something that you don't think anybody else understands in the world. However, let's talk through it. What is making you feel this way? And after you challenge somebody like that, which is not really a challenge, but when you challenge somebody to talk about the actual issue, if they go, oh, and then either they don't have an answer or they end up saying, well, I guess that's not that big of a deal because you lend them some perspective, then you could quickly find out that they were just maybe fishing for attention or they didn't know what to say or right. Or they're gonna dig into it and they're gonna put some put some truth on you, and it could be pretty heavy conversation, and that's okay too. And then okay, wow, that person was actually going through a lot. I'm happy I asked them because now I can help them. So it does go
100%.
both ways.
I think that's a really important disclaimer as we continue this conversation is that regardless of whether somebody else views whatever you're going through as a 10 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 in severity, the goal here isn't to make fun of you for how you cope with things or like give people a hard time for how they cope for things. It's the goal here is let's point out that if you're the type of person that feels like you're the only one who goes through it, let's point out that that's not the case.
Mhm.
And what are some different tools related to mindset and just being vulnerable and having open conversation and uh, hearing other people as well that can help you maybe with some, like you said, with some
Mm.
perspective. So this definitely isn't a judgment podcast today. It's more so just like an awareness piece, I think, to uh, either people who have that person in their life and maybe how to deal with them and how to lend them some perspective, and then also on the flip side, people who maybe are that person, that's like, hey, if you're being that person, not out of malicious intent, but just because you think you're the only one, I hope this helps you today, not offends you and triggers you, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Because hey man, everybody goes through things. However, you talked about mindset and you talked about malicious intent. There are a large number of people out there that live their life with a victim mindset and are always looking for the poor me, poor me, poor me. Nothing goes right in my life. Everything sucks. It must just be me. Those people are negative energy. Those people take all of other people's energy away from them, and those people need to wake up.
100%. I think it's probably one of the most important topics somebody could talk about is the difference between an energy giver and an energy taker
Hmm.
in a one-on-one relationship and in the context of community as well.
Yeah. So what in your world, like in the world of finance, energy givers and energy takers, because money is so emotionally tied. It's probably one of the most emotional things that we could talk about to an extent. So like what does an energy giver or an energy taker look like in your world?
It's a great question. The most important thing, in my opinion, and this is off the cuff, I don't even have notes on this, so if it's a bad answer, then cut me some slack. Transitioning the conversation as quickly as possible from survival thinking to possibility thinking. So before we talk about product, policies, investments, anything like that, at a foundational level, is there enough money coming through the door? And do we have a very detailed awareness of where it goes out? Because there is something to be said for, I think a lot of people right now lack the basic awareness around where their money goes, where if they did win cash for life or the government decided to give everyone an extra $1,000 a month or something like that, there's only a very small percentage of the population where that would help. Like it might be the person who is on a fixed income that budgets really well that could use the extra couple $100, and it's the difference between eating like discount or not eating at all and being able to eat. But there's a lot of people who have 1,000, 2,000, $500, $2,500 a month going out the door and they don't know where it's going. So bringing some awareness to that uh, and getting what's needed in place of, hey, here's your needs to survive. And then figuring out from there, how do we go from surviving to thriving, getting into to possibility thinking, because that's in our world, we can't make suggestions to people that are not open to receiving them. So if we're not in possibility thinking, no matter how good of a planner somebody is, they're never going to be a planner to you. They're always going to look like a salesperson because all they can do is sell you a temporary product because your mind is not in this space to think about how do I plan for 3 months from now, let alone 3 years, let alone 30 years from
Hmm. Man, that's the first piece you said there to kick that all off, the thinking of what I don't have right now versus the possibilities in the future. And that's where the bridge between the finance world and my world of performance, it's the exact same thing. Yeah, I'll use an athlete. This is an easy example. Yes, you just tore your ACL and you have to get surgery and you have to recover. However, you know that especially in this day and age, the recovery is not what it used to be. It's not a career ender anymore. You do your physio, you get back on strength training, you're going to come back as good, potentially even better. Is there still a risk that you aren't going to be that person? Sure. But this is now me speaking from my experience and seeing lots of injuries and having my own. If you have the right physio and you do the right pieces of work, it's all in here. It's now a mindset thing going, oh, my knee's not good enough. Oh, my elbow's not good enough. No, it is. Then it's just, you just have to keep putting that trust in yourself that I'm doing the right things to heal my injury, to fix my finances, to get this promotion. And it comes down to, and today's topic, it's going to be, one of the broken records things that's going to come up is no matter what we talk about, no matter what possibilities or opportunities, it lies on the man or the woman in the box. You need to be willing to make that change, whatever that change is, yourself before you're allowed to, before you, not allowed to, but before you can take advice and ask for coaching and ask for help. And it's the difference between should and could. People, when they don't know what to do, they go, "What should I do?" Well, should is a powerful word and it can be very dangerous because should is extremely perspective based. Well, you could do a lot of things. I just take those words away and I go, well, here's a couple things that I would probably start at, but what do you want to do? It's not a should or could thing. That's based on what I think is best. It needs to be what the person thinks is best.
Such a great
With
point.
the added advice from a financial advisor, a therapist, a performance coach, whoever, your family.
It's such a good point about it being dangerous because usually should as well is one thing. Whereas could is let me sit down with a piece of paper in front of me. I'm going to gather a few different perspectives. I could use AI, I could think myself, whatever. And yeah, what are all the things that I
Hmm.
could do? I had a conversation with someone recently about retirement. And it's the same thing. What should somebody do in retirement? Well, if they're like, well, what should I do? They get a piece of advice and they pigeonhole themselves into, I'm going to do this part-time job in retirement because that's what my ex-coworker who also retired is doing. So I'm just going to follow that individual.
Hmm.
Whereas what could I do? I had an individual who's about to retire and he's sitting there in the notes file on his phone thinking about what are all the things that I could do to fill my time that I didn't get to do while I was working. That's someone who's going to have a better retirement than the person who's like, well, what should I do? And just got told what to do.
Yep. Yep.
And I think the other thing that you mentioned that really hit home with me is the difference between a temporary condition and a permanent condition is literally just state of mind. There's nothing more to say on that at all. It's people let their conditions and their circumstances define their entire life.
Hmm.
It it doesn't need to be that way. Like yes, you might be broke right now, but poor is mental. Broke is numbers, poor is mental.
Mic drop. Coop dropping fire today. That was a good one. I that's powerful. And since we're on this riff here on I think leaning more towards the victim mindset because I think that's really where more people need to hear. I think overall people understand to a certain extent grief or dealing with challenging times, the involuntary challenges in life, but it's the victim mindset that I think really needs a shake, just like wake up. And I'll go back to the injury thing again. It's the athlete who makes injury their identity. I am my torn ACL. I am my torn UCL and all this. It's like, great. If that's all you think you are now, that's all you'll ever be. And that's the only thing you're going to think of. And when we're focusing on the wrong things with a mindset, and it's, well, bad things always happen to me. I keep getting hit. I keep getting hit. That person may never injure their knee again, but they're so focused on not hurting their knee again that they might re-injure it or they're going to think they tweak it or every time they get hit hard they go immediately to their knee and that is their scapegoat for everything in life now. Oh, no, I can't. My knee. No, I'm not doing that drill. My knee. Or, oh, I can't start this because I don't have any money. Or why would I even start because everything I do just fails anyway and everything sucks in my life because of this mindset shift. And it's the question where is it the environment they're in? Is it truly just the person who they are? Is it their parents? Is it their people that they're around? Maybe a mixture of all of them.
I was always told when it comes to that stuff, if you ask more than two people or you share a story with more than two people, then you're not looking for support and solutions, you're looking for attention.
Mm,
And I think that's a key thing to distinguish what we're talking about here. Because if someone is always talking about my knee or my illness or my race or my gender or whatever the limiting thing is, if it's part of, like you said, like, why are you making it part of who you are? Because if it's something that you've identified that limits you and holds you back, then why would you want to make your identity something that you believe limits you? Therefore, you will be limited your whole life.
mhm.
So you either need to not make it part of your identity or you need to reframe the identity entirely to say, hey, this isn't something that holds me back. It's something that actually empowers me. Yeah, maybe I have this illness where I can only work 15 hours a week instead of 40, but can I find an area where I'm successful so that everybody else who's has the same things that they see as limitations can also fall in my footsteps and see it as a strength. And now the strength is relatability to a crowd that goes through the same thing because you're not the only one that goes through that thing. It's that idea of like you're most qualified to help the person you used to be type of idea. Do you see it as an opportunity? And yes, there's 0.1% of the population where that comment is super privileged and super ignorant, for sure.
Mhm.
But it's not 50% of the population. And that's the problem with not, I don't like speaking in absolutes, but the problem with not speaking in absolutes is if I go, hey, this applies to 99% of people, 50% of people who are committed to staying the victim will go, well, I'm the 1% it does apply to.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, like the victim mindset, like to me, the solution is simple, but again, those individuals that have and carry that victim mindset like as a badge of honor, I don't like to say anybody's too far gone, but unless they make that shift of positivity, you don't need to be happy-go-lucky all the time. But instead of thinking bad things always happen to me, switch it to this. No bad days, just bad moments. Bad things happen to everybody. It's inevitable. Bad things are going to happen. You get a flat tire, you're going to stub your toe, you're going to lose some money in investments, you're going to get fired, whatever. Bad things will happen to you. That's life. That's part of the game. But if you hold on to that and let that ruin your whole day or your whole week or potentially your whole life, that is a really terrible thing. And I'm sorry for you if you're listening to this and that's you. That's awful. Or you could take a moment and just take a breath and go, okay, this is really terrible. However, tomorrow's my niece's birthday, and that's a good thing. I'm going to focus on that. And just go to the next positive thing. And it seems simple and rudimentary and maybe woo woo, but it's not. And I have to bring this up because it's on my head now. Coop, a few weeks ago, I answered the phone the way I always do when he calls me. He's like, "Man, you're always in such a good mood when I call you." Like, yeah, because how terrible would it be if somebody picked up the phone every time it was like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" And they sounded like Eeyore. Like, one, I'm generally a very happy person. I burn on a pretty high octane, but I'm like, yeah, especially when my people in my circle call me, I'm pumped. I'm like, sweet, whatever this conversation is going to be, it's going to be a good one. So I always look for pieces of those things in my life that bring me that energy because, again, the other thing that's inevitable is energy takers. People are going to take our energy. And again, throwing it back to you, Coop, like you must have a good number of energy takers talking about money during your day and during your week.
Yeah, 100%. And to kind of put a bow on this topic, so I've got another question for you that I think is really pertinent to the work that you do. To put a bow on this one, I firmly believe that some of the nicest people in the world at one point were bullies. And the reason that that's the case is because they know how crappy it feels to have once done that to other people. And they're like, man, I hate that I used to be that person. So they overcompensate the other way. They try to catch up with people that maybe normally would just be acquaintances or that they'd lose touch with, or they go out of their way to be positive. And I think the same can be said for energy takers and energy givers, where if you're sitting there now going, man, I didn't even realize that that's what I was doing to other people when I was putting so much of the the negative of my life out there. I didn't realize how much energy I was taking from other people. Uh, Once you realize that you are that person, if you're a well-intended person, you come from a good place. I feel like those end up becoming the most positive people because they realize what they've done to other people, and they realize what they've done to other people because once they start to shift towards an energy giver and towards being more positive, they feel better themselves. And they're like, man, if I feel a little bit better with my change in perspective, I imagine how everyone else around me was taking me before. Because I'm like, I don't even like who I was before. So I bet my friends and family didn't even really like me that much either. But they just didn't have the heart to tell me that I was being annoying and stealing their energy. So if you're someone right now who's like, man, I haven't historically been that positive a person. I have a tendency to lean towards a victim mindset. You actually have the opportunity to be one of the biggest energy givers in your life because now you can reflect on that and go, man, that
Mhm.
sucks.
Mhm. Yeah, I think you nailed it. I mean, we could rattle off so many examples of energy givers in the world that came from broken homes, divorced families, messy divorces, Compton, right? Like the gang warfare. You look at Dre and Ice Cube and all these prolific figures that are such positive beacons in their communities now and in their world, and they're so successful. Where some of the most privileged, and the note I was saving on privilege is this. A friend of mine brought this up and it really clicked. Privilege isn't privilege until it's generational. So if your dad has a lot of money, that's not privileged yet. Because most people, especially as you mature, will understand, wow, my dad and mom and dad had to work for all of that money and the house that we have and all this great things I got to do. So there's still a bit of respect for like, oh, wow, we had to build that fortune. Then as you go on and it becomes generational wealth, then there leans in the risk of going, I'm a rich kid, I can do whatever I want. Doesn't always happen, but that's where privilege starts kicking in and really making a effect on certain individuals. But that being said, there's lots of people from that walk of life that are extremely prolific and very positive energy givers in the world. There's also a lot of ones from that group that are negative. And I would say there's more from that group that are negative than there is from the ones that had to build and work for what they have and what they've created. So, environment is a big piece of it too, and keeping that perspective and always being proud of what you have and being proud of that and having that um, ability to go, yeah, look, this is amazing, all the things I have, but being humble enough to remember where you came from and how you got it. And if you look at that lens, those people don't have a victim mindset. Those people are the people I want to surround myself with.
100%. And a lot of people might be listening to this thinking that this is like wooey and personal development and oh my God, you're just telling me to think positive and that's it. And there's definitely an element of where the woo meets the work. And I historically have not been a big like before I got into entrepreneurship, especially was not a big personal development seminar, conference, quotes, motivational type of person. I was like, let's just put my head down and do the work. But I'm also a pattern recognition guy. And I know when mentally I'm not in a good spot, I'm not leaning into that type of stuff. And when I am in a good spot, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. And if it's the Kool-Aid that you're gonna recruit three people to recruit three people who recruit three people, and there's no product, but you're all gonna get rich together and woo woo excitement, throw a parade, different story. But something that's like, hey, control what you can control, things that have tangible impact in your life, it's a totally different story. And those things all get lumped together, which is so hilariously wrong, and I think does a disservice to people who could have a better outlook on things, but uh, have had some circumstances in their life that led them to not want to pursue some better information. But switching gears a little bit, I had this top of mind. You do a lot of great work in the communities that you're involved with in the mental health space, particularly men's mental health, but mental health in general. What would be maybe not advice, but what are your general thoughts around maybe someone who's listening to this who says, I'm going through some stuff. I'm not the type of person to talk about it. And the reason that I haven't spoke about it is because I don't want to be an energy taker.
Hmm.
But that person actually probably does need someone to confide in and needs to get a little bit vulnerable to help get through what they're going through.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, Coop. Man, talking about things that are truly eating at you and pulling you down every day is one of the hardest things any person can do, let alone a man. So the difference being, again, very simply, women have a much easier time just biologically to be empathetic and open up and be that because they are the caregiver. That is what their role is. They're there for each other. They're the mom. They're the sister that'll give you a hug when you scrape your knee. They're the one friend, the girl in the friend group that makes sure all the boys are taken care of. The guys have to be rough and tough. We have to be the protectors. We have to be the hunters. We have to be the chiefs, the leaders. That's, again, speaking biologically, not that women can't be leaders. There's a lot of great women leaders out there. But when we're keep that in mind, it makes it infinitely harder for men to talk about their problems because it's a sign of weakness or it's a perceived sign of weakness. So, to your question on how an individual that doesn't want to be an energy taker by talking about themselves, you need to either find one person that you trust with everything. That's your buddy that you could call at 3 a.m. and he will pick up. And if you don't have that, there's lots of resources that you can call, that you can send a note to. We'll link them in here. I'm just drawing a blank on the numbers for mental health hotlines. And then it's somebody you don't know. And that is their job. They're not your friends. So it's not going to make anything awkward, potentially, which it probably won't anyway. It's not going to take your friend's energy away and it gets it off your chest. Because holding on to that stuff is like keeping poison in your gut and not spitting it out or getting the antivenom. It drags you down and drags you down and drags you down. But once you do let that go, the flip side of it is that the individual realizes that they are an energy giver because by holding on to that, they're actually taking more energy from their friends and their family than if they did just talk about it. Because whether us men realize it or not, because we could put on a tough face and a big smile on our face or whatever else we have to do, people that love us the most and that are around us the most can see things. Everybody who's gone through a very bad time and like held on to things knows exactly what I'm talking about. Because as soon as they opened up, they had that one friend that went, "Man, I knew something was up for the last 3 weeks." So find that person, your buddy that you can call at 3 a.m. They'll listen and they won't judge you for it. Or if that's totally out of the question, or you don't have that person in your life right now, call the mental health hotline. And like I said, we'll link it in this podcast.
I love it. That's awesome. On the flip side of that too, if you notice that someone maybe looks a little bit heavy lately, first of all, the only way that you're going to notice that is if you actually pay attention. So
Mhm.
step one is care about people, put down the phone for a minute, like actually connect, pay attention.
Yeah. You got to
Then
read
when you
between the lines.
notice it, what's that?
You got to read between the lines.
100%. And you also, once you've noticed it, have the courage to call it out. And not in an accusatory way, but just, hey bro, you good? Is everything okay? We don't
Mhm.
have to talk about this right now if you don't want, but you seem a little off and if you want to grab a coffee, grab a beer, grab a whatever, like it's funny guy. I was catching up with a guy yesterday. He's like, yeah, we should go grab a beer and chat. And then, but he paused right away because he knew I wasn't drinking. He's like, crap, no, I didn't mean a beer. And I was like, no, dude, it's not offensive. I
Yeah.
still ask people to go for a beer. Then I order a club soda. They're like, what are they? He's like, I'm like, I don't drink coffee either. What do you want me to say? Let's go for Timbits. Like, I don't, I don't know what the slang term is, but basically what I'm saying is I want to connect with you.
Yeah.
Is what I'm
Just
saying.
go
I
kick
don't
it,
care
bro.
what. Yeah, I don't know what the intention is, or I know what the intention is. I just don't know how to say it in a way that's not weird. But when you
Yeah.
notice people are starting to do things like that, there's probably a reason. There's probably some level of connection that they're looking for. And the amount of times I've noticed that people just need that, and like, man, maybe they don't have another person that's going to pay enough attention to realize that they're going through something. So I'm going to check in,
Mhm.
just see what's going on. Remind them that, hey, we might not be best friends, but I've got your back, whatever you need. And that doesn't need to lead to a 1 hour long conversation. That in of itself could just be the clarity and the confidence that someone needs to move forward to go, oh, I'm
Yep.
seen, I'm heard. That's cool.
Yep. Well,
And
and it's finding the right way too. The closer you are with somebody, the easier it'll be. But as a person that has a good eye for it and maybe has a very high EQI, it's yeah. going for coffee, going for beer, going for whatever, going for a walk. And yeah, you're not going to corner them and be like, hey, you need to tell me what's going on right now. There's a time and place for that on the extreme end of things. But if it's just like some funk that you can see your friend that is in, maybe you just tell a story that you think that will help them open up. Or don't be lazy and say, hey, how's it going? Because everybody in the world will go, okay, let's let's do this right now, Coop. Hey, how's it going, Coop?
Yeah, good.
Oh yeah, same man, me too. Anyway, so what I really wanted to talk about, because it's another human nature lazy thing. How
Yeah.
are you feeling? The person still might say good, but there's a good chance they're going to say it a little different
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Oh,
because their brain doesn't recognize that same cadence. Oh, you didn't say how's it going? Hey, how you feeling today, man? Uh, yeah, I'm good. And there's that pause, and that's reading between the lines. It's like, okay, are you sure, man? Like, you seem like you're something's on your mind.
yeah.
Yeah, actually, my dog died.
Mhm.
Right, and
Well,
then
and even if they followed up with, yeah, I'm good, you
yeah,
can still go, for what it's worth. I, if not, call me anytime.
yeah, yeah. You don't need to be super intrusive. Just give them that option
Yeah.
to make that choice, to make the change, like we were talking about at the start of the podcast. So,
Totally. Even when something tragic happens and so many people on social media are just like thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers,
ah,
thoughts and prayers. How about instead of the thoughts and prayers on their Facebook post, how about messaging them directly and going, hey, I can only imagine what you're going through right now. I just want you to know that my family always has your family's back. And if you're at a stage in the grieving process where you need someone, it's never too awkward to reach out.
mhm,
That's an extra 10 seconds. It's a little bit of thought. And for the right person, that's going to go a long way.
yep,
To your point, too, about seeing someone, whether it's a friend or a therapist or a resource, things like that, I think there's a very important distinction between mental health and mental illness.
mm,
And everybody has mental health. There's some people have challenges with mental illness. If it's just a mental health thing where, like, man, I just need some perspective from a buddy or from my dad or from whoever, by all means. But if it's not just perspective you need, if it's I need to be heard or I need some tools, there's professional help
yep,
that's needed there because your friend who hasn't gone through what you're going through is not the one that should be providing you with the tools or the one that's like constantly needing to make sure that you're heard.
yep,
Because her this goes back to the energy giver, energy taker thing is if you if you're relying on your friends and family to make sure that you feel heard, it's all about you and never really about them. It's just a me thing. I've got problems. I need to be validated. Well, I could be your best friend. It's not my job to validate you. It's your job to seek the help that you need to make sure that you as an individual can validate yourself. But
mm,
if you want some perspective on things and you're coming to me for perspective, or you're coming, it's not you're venting every single day, it's you're just occasionally venting and you're pre-framing it with, hey, Greg, do you have a minute or two for me to dump right now? Well, and if you go, honestly, man, no, I don't. Okay, I need to respect that boundary. If you go, yeah, bro, hit me. But you can go, dude, you got 2 minutes. And then after 2 minutes, we got to turn it into something positive. So,
mm,
not to say these are all like, not to say everything we've talked about is like the end all be all for dealing with this stuff, but these are just kind of tools that have helped me set some healthy boundaries
yeah,
as our family and friend circle has dealt with a bunch of stuff related to mental health.
yep. Well, and that's just it. Complex topic for today. Even going back to the more, if you want to call it happy-go-lucky, but the more loose, don't be a victim, right? The victim mindset side of things. That's a complex thing. You know, somebody might be your best friend and they might have the worst victim mindset in the world, and you want nothing better, nothing more than to fix that for them. It's a hard thing to fix, and it takes effort from multiple ends. So, yeah, nothing is a golden ball. I'll tell you one thing. If I had a uh, golden bullet answer for mental health and victim mindset and that, I'd be infinitely wealthy. But I haven't figured it out yet. It's still an individual basis. So this is why I'm still here. This is why you're still here helping people get their finances in check. And that's why other people like us exist. So yeah, it's in short, it's, how you frame your world is how it's going to lay out. If you frame it that it's all negative, everything sucks. This one bad thing that's happening to me right now is the end of it all. I'm going through mental illness, which is even a harder thing to cope with, and people are going to look at me differently now. Well, none of that is true if you believe it not to be. Because I know some very, very amazing, kind, successful people that have severe mental illness, that have severe mental health problems, that have had some traumatic things happen to them, that have been broke to the point where they were counting pennies in their truck to try to pay for food. And looking at them now, they're the happiest people, they're the kindest, they're the biggest energy givers I know. So, no matter where you're at in life, things can always change for the better if you allow them to, and if you give yourself the grace to grow out of it and progress as a human.
Yeah, Greg, I think that's a perfect way to close this episode because I really hope that anyone listening, I hope one of the main takeaways out of this show is that if you're in a position where you aspire to be someone who is not defined by your circumstances, there are plenty of examples where that is possible. And it may not seem possible right now, but I can promise you getting around the right people, listening to the right stuff, reading the right stuff, having a commitment to changing your thinking, uh, it 100% can be your reality.
Love it. Coop, great topic today. Energy givers, energy takers. And we'll chat with you next week.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
See you, brother.